Bam! And we are back for another video. So today we are getting rid of this nice big gap. So as you can see, my current gap for the rear tyre is a good, like, sideways fist. So I've got Eibach springs. They're meant to drop by about 30 to 35 mil. I've got a big curb that kind of drops off. It's almost like a curb that kind of goes along and then just kind of goes off into the road like that, rather than like nice and smooth. So hopefully when this is lowered and I get my next install on the car, I can get off the drive, but we will see. So anyway, onto the install. Okay, so that took much longer to jack my car up than expected. This is going to be the finished result. I'm going to basically use it as a ramp to get back down onto my awful driveway, in the case, you know, my lowered car doesn't make it, if you know what I mean. I've never lowered a car before, so I have no idea what I'm doing, basically. Anyway, what we need to do, to my knowledge, is remove, let me just make sure that's got some light. We need to remove this bolt, and we need to remove the bolt just below it, which is here. We also need to remove the brake line, which is here, the sway bar, which is here. I think that's the sway bar, pretty sure that's the sway bar. Remove that, and then we also need to remove, I don't know if you guys can see that, there's like a clip just here. So we need to remove this clip just here, which is basically a cable tie. And that's to your ABS sensor, which goes up into there. So, two big bolts, sway bar, ABS carrier, and the brake line. We're just going to disconnect that and kind of hang it over here. And then in theory, this part here should be pretty much loose enough to come out, other than the top mount bolts, which are up top under the engine bay, which is, I think, is just 3 13mm bolts, which isn't hard. But anyway, let's crack on. First thing we're going to undo is the brake lines. I'm going to get all the wires and brake lines out of the way first. So you need a 10mm spanner for this. I've just got a ratcheting spanner, which makes life a little bit easier. Cool, so once that's out, you can remove your brake line, like so. Next thing we're going to do is the strut bar, or I'm not sure, sway bar, is that what it's called? So we're going to do the sway bar, which is up here. So for this, it's a 15mm. So there is a, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like an Allen key or a hex key up top. If your nut doesn't undo, you're going to have to hold that hex key and then undo it with a spanner. So hopefully it just undoes without kind of rotating. I think it's a sway bar, it might be a drop link, I have no idea, maybe it's the same word, but either way, it's off. So that's that removed, so that's easy enough. It's quite nice working on a newer car than kind of everything being rusted, that's for sure. So I didn't manage to film this bit, I was kind of just testing and it happened, but basically this is on like a clip that sits into here. I just wiggled it and pulled it out and it seems fine, it's out, so that's all good. So that's out, brake line's out now, everything's free other than these two bottom bolts here. Now obviously when you release this, in theory this hub could fall forwards, so you probably want something underneath the underneath your brake disc and everything, just to kind of hold it up a little bit. So if you've got like a spare wheel or something you can pop under there, I would recommend it. Okay, so at this point we're starting to kind of remove the actual strut itself. Now I would recommend supporting the hub So I've just put a little scissor jack under it. I haven't done it up tight at all. If anything, I've just done it hand tight, as you can see. It's just to support that, just so it doesn't fall forwards and damage anything there. But anyway, we're going to be moving up onto these bolts here. So there's one here, there's one just a little bit lower down. They're 15mm bolts. I think they're torqued to about 90 newton meters, but on screen now will appear the actual correct torque settings for these two bolts that you'll have to use. So they're quite tight in there, and obviously they do get quite rusty. So I recommend just a little bit of WD or some penetrating fluid into here, and then just crank them off with a torque bar. You may need to hold this other side, which is I think an 18, maybe a 19 mil, and then you've got a 15 on this side. So we're going to remove those two. This should drop forwards, and then we're up into the bottom. Three top nuts here. So you've got one here, one at the back, and then one kind of tucked right in under there, which you probably can't see, but when you look at this, you'll see them. So you've got one there, one there, one there. 13 mil. Just undo them. The one at the back's quite hard to do. You should be able to do it without taking this top off, but if you need to take this top off, you know, have fun. I'm not doing it. But basically, we're just going to just undo these bolts. This is going to take me ages because I'm using a stupid little spanner. So anyway, I'll come back to you guys when I've removed those top bolts. Cool, so shock is now off, as you saw me remove it. I'd recommend removing it kind of past the ABS sensor rather than past your brake line. But anyway, I'm going to use some spring compressors now, put these on here, compress the spring up, and then up top you have this. Now I'm not 100% sure what size that is. I think it's an 18, I might be completely wrong. But basically you want like an offset wrench to go into that hole. And then there's also a hex key, so if it doesn't come off just by using the wrench or like a kind of an impact gun, then you're going to have to hold that hex key and then do it with an offset wrench inside of there. So compress the springs first and then do that bit. So it's a 6mm hex in the top, and then that's what I mean by the offset spanner. So that just goes into there, and you undo it. Just make sure you've got your spring compressors done up. So these are the Eibach springs. You've got two versions. You've got those ones which are your rear ones, and those which are your front ones. They go up with the writing facing the correct way up. Basically you just slide it on, make sure it's seated into the correct slot, which is down here. And then from there we're going to replace everything that we took off before, so the gator and everything just slides straight on top. So that slides onto there. And you're going to slide it all the way down until you get that nut back out. Now you may have to use spring compressors to get them on, so I'm just going to compress these now and then put the nut on top. So now that the strut itself is back in, we're going to do these top nuts first, and then move on to the main two bottom nuts straight afterwards. Cool, so we've now got these two lower bolts to put in, which go through here. These are torqued up to about 90 Newton meters. So you just want to basically line it up. You may need to use your little stand, as you can see what I've done here. Should, obviously without pinching your brake line, which I've fully done, should slide in nice and easily. I've just got to take mine back out as I have messed up. Yeah, that's one in. Cool, so remember to put the nut on the rear side.
A few moments later.
I've just done it up hand tight for now. And then we're going to get the next bolt and pop this one through. We're going to need this. Cool, that is now 90. And that is now 90 Newton meters. So both of those are torqued to 90. We've now just got to replace the... So we're just now replacing the drop link, which is just this bolt up here. So I've just slid it back through. And of course this time it's rotating, so we're going to have to put the hex key in there and crank it up. So just put the brake line back in, so there's a bolt there. This is just on like a rubber grommet, so you just slide that onto there. And then obviously the clip that comes out just here. Just make sure you push that back in, and then in theory everything is nice and tight and ready to go. So just pop the wheel back on, and then I'm going to do the other side off camera just to speed up the process, and then we'll come back to the rears. So I've just finished the front springs. With filming it took me about an hour and a half. Without filming it took me about half an hour. So you can get these done, especially if obviously everything works your way, if you know what I mean, so you've got no rusted bolts or anything. You could get these done in about half an hour each side, I reckon. And obviously the rears we still need to do, but that's meant to be really quick. So we're going to drop the car down and just see how low it sits. Now I've built myself a ramp because I'm concerned that it's just not going to clear my jack, but we'll see. So we're now onto the rears. As you can see, basically I've jacked it up in the middle. I'm going to have two axle stands on the sills on the side. You need to remove that bolt, and then you can pull the spring out. Once you remove that bolt, the whole thing will drop down. You remove the string, you put a new one in, and then you jack up just from here and you push it all up into line, slide that through, job done. So I'm going to do both basically at the same time. And there we have it. So I ended up dropping both sides, which made it easy to basically just pull them out and put it in. So now all we need to do is just jack up each side and then get the bolts back through. So springs are now in. So this bolt here is 115 Newton meters. So just crank those up to 115. Same for the other side over there, and you should be all done. So these are the finished results. So that's how it's sitting on the rear. And on the front, that's how that's sitting. Now, if I went any lower than this, hello? Okay. If I went any lower than this, I would be touching the floor. I'm going to insert a picture now of me coming off of my driveway, which is kind of a drop. You can probably see it on the other side of the road, actually, kind of how the drop is.
Wow.
If I go any lower than this, I'm screwed. And also, I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about putting like a racing splitter on here because I'm getting ready for track and actually making it into a proper track car. And I mean like proper. Once I get a different vehicle for a daily anyway. But we're gonna go down that route. But basically the splitter I wanted kind of came out a bit more. And I'm wondering if I could even kind of warrant doing that now because of how close it is. So I'll leave a little poll up top right, just up here. And you guys can let me your opinion on kind of whether you think like a racing splitter that would kind of come out a bit further and have those struts, whether you think those struts and stuff would work. But anyway, it was a long day. We had problems, but it's easy. Just with the rear axle, just drop both sides at the same time, and then just use like a bottle jack or something to get one side up with the spring in. With the fronts, it is very simple. It's really, really simple. Just make sure you got spring compressors. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. As always, your continued support is amazing. We're well on our way to 1,000 subs now, which is wicked. This is going to be released just before Ford Fair. Now, if you're coming to Ford Fair, I'm going to be there. Come say hi. Seriously, I'll be on the Kent Modified Ford stand, just kind of supporting my local group. The only meet that I've ever been to. But I'm going to be on that stand. More than welcome to come see me. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, which will appear here, and I'll be dropping stories all day, kind of telling you where I am, so you can come meet me and stuff if you want to, and we can talk about how annoying Fiestas are, basically. But anyway, thank you for watching. Remember to like, favourite, subscribe. Not that you can favourite. I don't know why I always say that. And I'll see you guys next time.